pothole ridden. The roads are not good. They're bumpy. They're bad, just bad. Not so long ago, I showed you a video of a truck that was stuck under the Achimota Bridge. We allow people to walk into our country and walk out misbehaving. We allow people, we give them contracts to construct roads. We don't do quality check. Good morning to Kwame Agboja, MP for Adaklu Messiah. Alasan Suhini deputizing for you at the Roads Ministry. Those things must end. They must stop. And consistently, you get people approach you and they talk about these things with a lot of pain in their hearts. Because these very same people who are complaining are the ones who are being compliant every step of the way. You let a policeman stop your vehicle and let it not have roadworthy certificate or insurance, you will see your piga. You will be dealt with per the law. And by the law, you will be dealt with. So how is it that something that ought to be, a bug that ought to be ticked, is not ticked? And everybody sits silent and we are watching, we are all happy. We are all pretentious. And we all behave as if it's okay. It is a problem. It is a very, very big problem. Unfortunately, we can't go into our folder today, so I will pause here. We will come back next week, Monday, and have a conversation with you. Please call me 055-924-2717 and 055-691-0154. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Odewale, talk to me.
Yeah, Sapo. And happy weekend to everybody. You know, this school used to have complaint time with that number.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo kendini ehu behia se metwa sapapadia to ama me manfo Kale Charcoal's natural ingredients ene bɔ me se ho ban e ma ne swen ne sanso mama hotoso e wo bedwam.
Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. Choose Kale Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kale, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Mom, you're finished bathing.
Well done, my student. Daddy, I can see that the bathing.
Yes, see how refreshed Kobe is looking.
Together, we will show the whole world the true way of gem protection.
Still live on TV3 here, New Day. It's time for Big Issue. And as you may guess, we're going to talk a lot about the mid-year budget review today. We'll also have a bit of a discussion with the issues surrounding the decision of the minority in Parliament to boycott it. In fact, what we'll be doing is that we'll start off with that particular issue. We'll just try to get that off the table quickly. Then we'll focus on the mid-year budget review specifically. Various aspects of it. What I have for you today is that we have our experts around the table, varied expertise in different areas. So we'll try and narrow it down and have some sector-specific conversations, with the starting point being what this means for the ordinary Ghanaian, whether the government policies is getting the necessary results, is reflecting the lives of ordinary Ghanaians. That is how we'll start the conversation. Then we'll narrow in on the specific issues relating to the sectors. But before that, some good news for you this morning. It's time to make money the fun way with your nursery ABCs. Yes, the ABC game is here, and it's as simple as dialing *262# on your phone. Pick any 3 letters from A to Z, choose how much you want to stake, even as low as 5 cedis, and boom, you could win 1 million Ghana cedis. Daily draws happen 3 times a day at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 9 p.m. So choose your time and test your luck. Get 1 correct letter and you win 2 times your stake. 2 correct letters, that's 5 times your money. Match 3 in any order and you win 100 times your stake. And if you match all 3 in the exact order, you walk away with 1,000 times payout. Even if you don't win, you get a 10% cash back, so you never lose everything. No internet needed, no stress, just dial *262# and start winning. ABC game, life should be as easy as ABCs. And this is licensed by the NLA under the Caritas platform. Terms and conditions apply. So that is some good news for you this morning. I want us to start off the discussion from the issue that I said I want us to clear off the table quickly. The decision of the minority not to participate in the mid-year budget review. We saw what happened. They left the presence of Parliament just when the minister had been asked to come into the chamber. The chief whip, the deputy minority, actually indicated that they had a statement to make. The speaker allowed the statement to be made. Then the minority chief whip started off with the issue of violence, electoral violence. In fact, when he started, the speaker stopped him and said that, look, the violence was an important matter which they have to dedicate a day to address. Then at that point, he simply proceeded to say that, well, they had a litany of demands, and because they feel that they want to make those demands known, they were boycotting the proceedings on that particular day. So they proceeded to go on a petition submission spree. They sent one to the Jubilee House, another one was also taken to Kodeo as well. They also met the diplomatic community as well. What I want you to listen to now is Frank Anodompre as he presented the petition on behalf of the minority group. Just take a listen, then when we come back, we'll have the discussion.
Mr. Chief of Staff, not to bore you with words. Ghana is seen as a beacon and a fledgling democracy. We think that we have contributed hugely. The 2 main traditions, the MPP and the NDC, both have contributed hugely to building our democracy to the point where we are. The recently held rerun of 19 polling stations birthed a lot of issues. I won't try to unpack them here, but a lot of issues that certainly needs our attention of all the variables involved in the political field, particularly government, because a lot of responsibility is on your head. You are in total control of the security of the state. So we are here to present a petition, basically on 2 important matters. The violence that occurred at the rerun of our Blekuma North election, and we are upbeat about subsequent elections to be held in our country. We are also worried about Kalamse. And it was one of your messages that you trumpeted with all the promise, rightly or wrongly. Now it's getting out of hand. And our respected Chief of Staff, you are an Easterner. If you are traveling between Enyinem and Nkoko, now the Galamsees are coming on the highway. We are told our water bodies are polluted all over, and even farm products it's been reported that they've discovered heavy metals in foodstuff from the farm. I think in summary, we are here to present this petition and to appeal for your patriotic intervention in these matters. We have confidence in you. We believe you will act. Now, we hear you have 2/3 majority in Parliament. We heard that. But you also need a minority in Parliament to function. Now, if we don't hear anything, and it is business as usual, it is absolute silence, we are not going to hear anything, this is just the beginning of series of actions we are going to stage in this country. But we won't do anything out of malice to undermine your governance. But as long as the threat of electoral violence keeps rearing its head, and our authorities seem to be at their wit's end, we'll continue to bring these matters into our attention until it is dealt with. So for and on behalf of the entire minority caucus, and by the way, Chief of Staff, our real name is the Mighty Minority. So we present this petition, I present this petition for and on behalf of the entire, respectfully, the entire minority. And we have also attempted, I'm sure the seat of government, you have all the videos of the violence, but we've also, just for the benefit of doubt, a recording of footages of the violence that reportedly occurred. We have presented this to you, through you, to His Excellency the President. We are confident that the dutiful action will be taken as it should. Grateful.
Mighty minority.
So that's the petition submitted on behalf of the mighty minority there by Frank Ano-Dompre. Let me introduce you to my mighty panel now. Sitting right across me, DJG Fiajo is a partner, tax services, PwC. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Did I get the name correct?
GJJ.
Okay, so I'll stick to Fiajo for now.
That's fine. That's
Thank you very much. Yeah. Next to him is Kwame Jantua. Kwame Jantua is a legal practitioner, a member of the Convention People's Party and Chrome's own party. Mr. Jantua, it's good to see you once again.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm breathing.
Okay. Next to Mr. Jantua is Mr. President. I don't have to explain this once again. Eric Edem Agbana is the MP for Ketu North. Mr. President, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. You're my president. I don't have to explain this every time.
You have to explain.
I have to explain. Okay.
Because we are on national TV.
SRC president from Lagos. So,
yes.
And then we go.
But good to be here.
So it's good to have you.
Always good to have you.
And next to him is Ebo Bakman. Ebo Bakman is an economic and financial analyst, a senior communicator with the Movement for Change as well. Ebo, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Yeah, thank you. And you've got Rashford finally.
Yes. We got Rashford. Barcelona, the best team on the face of the earth. It's going to be a fantastic season. The Manchester United fans, you regret letting him go. Don't worry.
But Arsenal will lift the Champions League.
Arsenal. I thought you'd focus on the league first. You want to start off with the Champions League?
We'll win the Champions League.
That's fine. No problem. We'll see how that goes. And let me stay with them. I want to start off with this issue surrounding the minority, and I just want us to just get it off the table quickly. I mean, as a member of Parliament, I mean, do you think their decision not to participate took anything out of the big event yesterday?
Well, Akable, let me say good morning to you and to my brothers on the panel this morning, and also to all our cherished viewers across the world, especially to the good people of Ketu North. And let me continue to thank them for the support that I enjoy from them and their help in making sure that the Ketu North project becomes a living reality. Joseph, walkouts, as Mr. Speaker said yesterday, are part of parliamentary practice or democracies across the world. Walkouts are used to register protest or register displeasure with even decisions of government or decisions of the other side of the house. And so this is not the first time we have seen a side or say the minority stage a walkout, and this will not be the last time that we will see them do that. But walkouts must be based or grounded on substantive issues that you believe that you have a point such that people can agree with your walkout. And so when the minority said they were walking out because of electoral violence. That, for me, surprised me. It was not only disappointing, but shocking to the extent that, like I said before, the NPP minority in parliament today lack the moral courage and the moral authority to even comment on electoral violence. Let us be clear. No one should condone electoral violence of any form. Nobody should support any attempt to bring disorder in our elections. We must all strive to organize free, peaceful, fair elections. But, Joseph, the NPP as a political party and the minority in parliament should not, under any condition in this our Fourth Republic, attempt to talk about electoral violence, because if there is any party that entrenched electoral violence, state-sponsored hooliganism in our elections, it is the NPP. Joseph, from 1957, throughout our elections, we've seen some isolated cases of violence, but we can describe those ones as some political hooliganism, where supporters of NDC, NPP clash, or supporters of CPP, PNC, they do clash in elections. But from 2017, what we witness as electoral violence is clearly different from political hooliganism, because from 2017, the NPP introduced a culture of state-sponsored vigilantism, state-sponsored brutalities in elections, state-sponsored violence. Because under the NPP, we saw men in national security apparel, men who were working for the state, engaged in acts of violence. We saw gun-wielding men attack innocent citizens. A sitting member of parliament was attacked. We saw it, we have the videos, and I would have wished that the so-called evidence or videos that they presented to the chief of staff yesterday should have included some of those footages. Myself, as I sit with you this morning, Joseph, I am a survivor. I was a victim of the Ayawaso West Wugon by elections, state-sponsored violence. And so when they stage a walkout claiming that today they love peaceful democracy, such that the violence that we recorded in Ablekuma, not rerun, is the reason why they stage a walkout. It shows how deeply hypocritical the minority is. Joseph, again, after the Ablekuma North rerun, we have seen actions being taken by our institutions. As we speak, 2 people have been arrested. People are being arraigned before court. Investigations are ongoing. The police have consistently updated us on steps they are taking to bring justice to the families or the individuals that were affected. But Joseph, do you know that when the NPP, after the Ayawaso West Wugon state-sponsored violence, decided to set up a commission of inquiry, the Emil Short Commission of Inquiry, I have the report here. That report presented the NPP a solid opportunity to deal with the challenge at hand. But what did they do? In a cynical rejection of the report, they selected a few things, even when the report mentioned individuals that must be dragged before court. They decided not to sanction those people. Okay. And these people are claiming that they are so democratic that they are staging a walkout on violence. The hypocrisy for me stinks. I mean, stinking hypocrisy. And the discerning people, the Ghanaian people, want to see justice, not showmanship. Okay. The Ghanaian people want to see peace, not the kind of hypocrisy that they are exhibiting over electoral violence. I get you, Sergeant. When I speak about this issue, I am very passionate about it because, like I said, I walked to University of Ghana, Legon campus, Legon Hall, your hall, just to monitor. I was accredited by the Electoral Commission without any provocation. Men in national security uniforms, men in the presence of the military and police and officials of government assaulted me. And these are the people with this stinking hypocrisy talking about increasing spate of electoral violence. Again, let me be clear. We must not condone violence. We are calling for justice for victims of the rerun, but that justice must not be limited to Ablekuma North. Every other election in 2020, 8 people lost their lives. In Kasua during registrations, Hawa Kumsen openly admitted that she fired gunshots at people. These are the people that must all be brought to book.
So then I get to suggest that, I mean, outside, if we take the MPP out of it, you agree that with what's happening at Ablekuma, it's an issue of concern.
It was an issue of concern because we saw
the party that is raising the issue.
It is not my challenge is not only the party. It is about the selective outrage. And the fact that out of their sheer hypocrisy, they are trying to draw some parity between Ablekuma North rerun and what happened at Ayawaso. Look, let me be saying, look, the nuances are different. Ayawaso West Wugon was state-sponsored violence, state-sponsored, and I'm saying it on record, state-sponsored. Ablekuma North, the videos we have seen showed a clash between party supporters. Clearly, failure of the police and the Electoral Commission's own security protocols. The difference must be clear.
That's right.
The NPP minority in Parliament, and especially, and let me say this to my chief whip, he's my leader in Parliament, but I will show you a video where he was inciting NPP supporters that when they meet, when there is a clash. So I'm not done pray. My leader in Parliament, that hypocrisy stinks. He shouldn't even be the one talking about electoral violence. When there's a video, I will let you play it, was inciting NPP supporters that when you meet NDC supporters during elections and there is a fight, make sure you support your colleague MPP to fight and all of that, to beat up the NDC. Such a person is the one leading this fight against electoral violence. Please, the stinking hypocrisy must be done away with.
Hold on for me. Let me come to Ebo now. And Ebo, this one is a brief issue. We just want to get it out of the way quickly. Just want to get it out of the way quickly. Let's calm down. Let's all calm down. I mean, outside, and the reason I was asking him about the fact that if you take the political party out of it, because when he tried to raise the issue on the floor of Parliament, the Speaker agreed that electoral violence was a serious issue. I mean, I think you earlier made a point about the challenge the MPP is facing, because even when there's an issue, a serious issue, and they want to raise it, they don't seem to get the kind of support that the issue ought to attract. I don't know how you process that concern.
Let me say good morning to the Omahini of Cape Coast, Nako Isiata, the second, and the MC, the Mayor of Cape Coast, George Arthur, and Mr. Frank Hatchful Oguakoto this morning, and urge these people to, to help Academy of Christ the King, SHS, to protect their land from encroachment. It's becoming a worrying situation, and so I would want to use your platform to urge them to support the school to protect its land from encroachment. You see, it's as if you knew I was going to go haywire on MPP, so you said,
you have to calm down.
Of course, I'm not going to go haywire on them, but it is sad how my former party has become so headless and lawless in this country. It saddens my heart, because I've always said that this is not the MPP I joined in 1992. And what happened yesterday was something that should not have happened. That the people's budget, you see, the budget was not NDC budget. If you go by the definition of democracy by Abraham Lincoln, it says government of the people.
For the people and by the people.
Yes, so it is the government's budget, which is the people's budget. And so if you have been elected by people of your constituency to represent them, and a budget is going to be read, which is going to be about things concerning their lives, and you walk out and you don't participate, it's quite worrying. I don't know who is advising them. I don't know whether they think this is going to help them to have gain some political currency or what. I mean, it's so sad. But the question is, did the MPP contest the by-election?
Well, as a party, they had said they were not going to. You mean the additional election in the 19 stations?
I'm saying that the MPP contest it.
As a party, they said they were not going to participate.
So the MPP did not contest.
Yes.
So why is the MPP complaining?
Okay.
If you did not contest an election, why are you complaining about the election?
Yeah, but
because your own people, the Howard Kumsons, then all the people who went there, even National Executive, who was sadly beaten, all of them defied the party orders to be there when they were not supposed to be there. So that should tell you how lawless the party has become. So the point I'm making is that, you see, the budget is more important, it's a bigger thing than this student politics they are doing. This student politics will not get them anywhere. I mean, I know Domprey complaining about what? Violence. I mean, his record is nothing to write home about.
Okay.
And so, Ghanaians, you see, strategically, MPP is not being smart. I've always said NDC has always been smarter than MPP. Recently, I'm talking about this MPP. You see, NDC is enjoying some goodwill. And it's normal because they are doing well. And so you don't fight them the way you are fighting them. Because then if you fight them, it's like you are fighting the people. Are you getting it? If a party wins with that margin and is enjoying good because they are doing well, you strategically have to approach the way you deal with them.
Okay.
But the approach MPP is using is rather making them lose more votes if you don't know. In fact, if you had to organize the election today, I can assure you, even the number of seats they have in parliament will reduce, and even the percentage they had will reduce. So they will have to be strategic. The leadership of MPP in parliament is a big failure, to say the least. And even the leadership of the party itself is also nowhere to be found. Right. So the party has become headless and lawless, and it's not good for our democracy.
Okay. Let me come to Mr. Jantua. Mr. Jantua, wrap up with me on this conversation.
Wrap up?
Yeah, wrap up for me on this conversation.
You mean I should make my point or wrap up? Which? Be clear.
You have the final
be clear.
No, calm down.
Be clear so that I know.
You're having a final
I should make my point.
Yes, on this.
Not wrap up. They are two different things.
That's fair. But okay, my producer says make your point and wrap up. but I mean, do you and it's the same sentiment that I get Ebo express as Adam. It appears, because it's coming from the MPP, it's just difficult for anyone to want to even give them a hearing. I mean, even though we all saw the videos from Ablekuma North, and we all agree that the things that we saw are not things that we want to see happen in a democracy.
Good morning to our viewers. You know, yesterday's action by the MPP was infantile, old school, and the fact that even they were even able to use that word, we are the mighty what? Minority. What is that? What are you trying to prove? Especially when Anodom Press started speaking, the speaker stopped him and said, look, electoral violence is something that the House should debate on. I'm going to give a whole day for us to debate it. Is electoral violence specific to MPP? Is it specific to MPP? And do they not have responsibilities to the people who have voted them into parliament? Are they clueless of their responsibility in parliament? They are walking out everywhere. Even on this platform, they walked out. So how would people hear your point of view? Yesterday's budget that was read, you were supposed to be in parliament to also counter. Your leader should have said something about it to look at the balance.
Okay.
Were they there? Don't say, okay, I haven't finished. Were they there? Were they present?
They were not present.
No,
Yeah.
they weren't present. Why? Why weren't they present? Look, they didn't listen to President Kufuor. When President Kufuor spoke, it looks as if he came through here and came out of here. They should go back and sit with President Kufuor and let him advise them. because it's not helping anybody. They are the largest opposition party, and people expect them to be responsible. Look, didn't Oseche Mensah to say that the MPP going forward would rely on the parliamentarians they have today? Didn't he say it in his interview with Evans Mensah? Don't they see that? Don't they see it is important? After such a devastating election that nearly wiped you out, and you are still doing this, walking out to go where? To do what? And you are even giving the audience at Flagstaff House, the chief of staff himself came, and you come and tell him that, please, we are the what?
Mighty majority.
Come on, let's get serious. Let's have a credible opposition party. Yes, you don't have the numbers in there, but there are ways you can show your presence. And the ways you can show your presence got nothing to do with walking out. Yes, it is your, what do you call it? It is your opportunity, it is your right. But for reading of that, the budget, is it not in the Constitution? Is it not stated in the Constitution? Isn't that an abuse to the Constitution? And you talk about electoral violence. Look through history. NLM, UGCC. Then my father tells me some of the things they did in Ashanti region, the kind of violence. And you feel that because you have gone through a certain, what do you call it, line of violence, you are the be-all and end-all. When the Ayawaso Westward recommendations came, did President Akufo-Addo do anything about it? If we had instituted those recommendations, would we not have gone a step further in controlling electoral violence? He did nothing about it. He left it on the shelf. So what are they talking about? They should stop the hypocrisy that they try to show us. That as if they are what, mighty minority, so they are perfect. Look, I would hope that the chairman of the MPP today would be able to sit down with parliamentarians and tell them what it is that they are in parliament for. They are there to represent the people. The supporters of the MPP would have liked to hear their version of some of the things that were read out of the budget. Were they there? No, they weren't there.
Okay.
So irrespective of the fact that you are minority, you are small, you have a voice that you can use to let people see you are serious. Conclude, and I keep saying it, they should start building confidence in the people. Otherwise, 2028, Yamutu, they should forget it. They ain't going nowhere. Amen.
Amen. Offering time.
That is Kwame Jantua there. I want us to now zoom in and focus on the budget now, the media review. And now let's focus on it. I want us to take a listen to the finance minister. Basically, the scorecard that he announced in terms of most of the targets that government has, even for end of year, they are maintaining the targets, no major reviews. It's just with regards to expenditure and revenue that some adjustments have been made, particularly because of the levy that took off, and so they've made some adjustments to the revenue expectations, and primary expenditure has also gone up a bit. I want to walk you through a bit of data by way of graphics in terms of some of the issues that are coming up from the budget right now, just to put things in perspective as we begin the conversation. So here on the energy sector, you hear him say that the sector had an excess of $1.5 billion annual shortfall. The cocoa sector liabilities, 32 billion. Cities, state-owned enterprises had paralyzed balance sheets. And financial sector remained weak despite the 30 billion CD cleanup with high non-performing loans. Strong fiscal performance, primary balance surplus of 1.1% of GDP, and beating a target of 0.4%, and fiscal deficit reduced to 0.7% of GDP, outperforming a target of 1.8%. There is declining inflation. Inflation has dropped from 23.8% in December 2024 to 13.7% in June 2025, the lowest since 2021. And the Treasury bill rates are falling sharply. 91-day T-bill down from 27.73% to 14.73%. Rebuilding reserves and currency strength. Gross international reserves rose to $11.12 billion. That is 4.8 months of import cover from $8.98 billion in December of 2024. the cedi appreciation. The cedi appreciated by 42.6% against the USD, 30.3% against the British pound, and 25.6% against the euro, reversing the 2022-2024 depreciation. And he says that this is the biggest currency rebound in 60 years. In terms of investor confidence, he made reference to the rating agencies, starting off with Fitch Ratings upgrading Ghana from restricted defaults to B-, that is a stable outlook. And Ghana's IMF program is back on track with a fourth review approved, triggering a $370 million disbursement. And the finance minister, like you heard him, concludes by saying that the first 6 months have been very good. He believes the next 6 months would actually be better than the previous one. I want to start the conversation with my tax consultant who preceded me, Mr. Fiajo. I want to start off the conversation particularly on the issue of revenue because we've not seen this particular review that came out. There was no major changes in terms of the tax approach, and so it's basically what exists in the main budget. But what we see, even in terms of the new handle that took off after the budget had been read, the D-levy, like the minority want to call it, and what it has occasioned. So the revenue projections have gone up, but we still see a deficit. And so if you look at the total revenue, it has been revised upwards. We are looking at 227.1 billion cedis to 229. But if you compare it to the expenditure, it's still around 269.5 billion. So our expenditure is still more than our revenue. And the question one would have to ask is that we don't seem to have, over the years, and this is not a government-specific problem, we are struggling to figure out how to get as much revenue as possible. From your tax perspective, what do you see to be the challenge particularly? And secondly, if you compare the earlier budget, the main budget that was read, do you see a change in the tax policy from previous governments?
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you and good morning to you and good morning to your viewers as well. You're right. The minister did not depart at all from the main budget. The only thing he looked at very closely was the extra revenue that will be coming from the levy, the newly introduced levy. So you can see that on all the revenue estimates, he only projected that up and then increased revenue. If you look at all the other lines, pretty much all the revenue lines, and particularly the tax revenue lines, he kept them pretty much on budget. I'm not surprised entirely, to be honest, because clearly the minister already was making some gains. So if you look at corporate tax, he had exceeded. Mineral royalties, he had exceeded. Even non-oil, if you look at it totally, non-oil tax revenue, he had exceeded all of that. Import, he admitted, had dropped. But if you look at it in total, the total deficit isn't too much. So he's still very confident about the fact that he's going to make the revenue, no doubt. And because he's confident, naturally you not expect him to make any changes. And that is also a sign if you look at the pronouncements that were made, particularly in the speech and in the budget. Clearly, he only spoke about the tax reform, particularly the VAT reform, and he didn't touch on much else. So I think the minister understands and is still very confident about what he's going to realize. If the concern is about deficit because you're comparing to expenditure, you will find that every budget comes with a projected deficit anyway. But if you look at the deficit as well, it's still within measure, let me put it that way. So I think the minister feels very confident that he will be, the budget will travel its course to the end of the year, and the revenue that he's expecting to make, he will make. And it's not a surprise at all that he did not revise any of the revenue target. And again, it's not a surprise that he didn't introduce a new tax as well.
In terms of the tax policy underpinning this budget, the main budget, do you see it as a shift? Do you see any significant shift from how other governments had managed our tax handles?
No. So first, between the March budget, that's the main budget, and now, there hasn't been any shift. Number two, you find that there hasn't been any clear new introductions. We've had a situation where in a mid-year budget, a few new taxes were introduced. Those were really supposed to address shortfalls. But you find in this case that when the minister even admitted to the import duties drop, he quickly said that he's going to block leakages. Sometimes when it comes to import duties, it can be a price and quantity thing, right? Because so you may think of it as a no-brainer. Maybe exchange rates have improved, therefore the CD amounts you are collecting are not as high. He didn't address it. He didn't just blame the exchange rate. But he looked at it and said, oh, look, it looks like there are leakages and I'm going to close those loops. There are some that he actually attributed them to. So he hasn't made any change. What he spoke about, particularly the VAT, it was a reform that he announced earlier, and he only went a few steps further to actually tell us exactly what he's going to do. And if you look at it closely, you will find that whatever the VAT is doing now is still going to continue all through the year. So that means those lines, the D-Link Get Fund and also NHIL and COVID, will still continue to the end of the year anyway, because if you look at his timelines, he's looking at October and then into November, and then possibly into 1st January. So I think he's worked out the predictability of his revenue, and he's probably not going to make any changes. Is it making any particular policy changes? The only one I can pick on is the VAT. I can see what the minister is doing. He's trying to balance getting revenue and the fact that VAT in itself is supposed to be a tax that can be used as a tool to trigger all kinds of. So he says he wants VAT to acquire its full nature now, and he's taking his time to look at it. So for us in practice and also for businesses, we think that is a significant enough policy. But if you look at it in the short term, it's not one. It's one that is scheduled for next year, but it's not one that is going to make a difference in the current budget. So the minister hasn't he hasn't departed. He hasn't put in anything different from what he said right from the beginning of the year.
And to the extent that he didn't make significant changes, one will make the argument that if the energy sector, the amendment that brought the 1 CD on the liter, it appears that if that had not taken off, we could potentially have had serious revenue challenges, especially going into the latter part of the year now. Because basically, that is what has now accounted, and because of that, even the deficit has even gone down compared to what was projected initially.
Yeah, you're right about that. So there's something about the energy sector. It is important as a revenue line. That's why it was introduced. But what I also see as the extras is that where there are, so for instance, where there are shortfalls, he realizes that, okay, I can plug them. As to whether it's his own projection, as to whether he can, I dare say time will tell. That means that the energy sector just becomes an extra, if you think about it. It has helped, at least for now. All the other revenue handles have gone above, which is leaning on. He also did mention something about, I think, the petroleum side, that there were some delays in the payment, and there was also the CD gain that reduced that. So that means that he's actually looking to sort of shore up revenue again. All in all, I think what the minister was saying very clearly is that I'm likely to make budget, at least on the revenue side. I'm likely to. Sometimes I'll sit back and worry about what happens then if expenditure spikes. Would you be able to get the extra revenue? But the minister didn't put across at all that he's actually going to make much more. He kept the budget estimates and said, I'm going to make my revenue budget, and I've added a bit more on the energy sector levy, and he's okay. Okay. So I think he believes he's going to work with his planned deficit. Okay. And he's going to stay on that path.
Let me come to Ebo now, and Ebo, I want you to take the economics down to read the people in the market and what you understand. The minister says here that government has worked hard to bring down and stabilize the exchange rate with deliberate policies. It is now time for businesses to bring down prices to reflect the new economic reality. We understand businesses went through some sacrifices during the turbulent economic challenges, but so did the ordinary Ghanaian. It is now time for prices to come down to reflect the new economic realities for the benefit of all Ghanaians. I mean, when I heard him say this, I took it to be an admission that the numbers are looking very good but for some weird reasons, the businesses are not responding as the figures as they should respond in line with the figures that we are seeing. You agree with that assessment?
Yeah. The budget is mainly, prepared to solve problems. So, if you like, the problem of cost of living, we expect the budget to resolve that problem. The problem of cost of doing business. So the argument the minister is making is that because of the performance of the cedi and the fact that inflation has also dropped, the cost of doing business has significantly gone down. But the cost of living, which should be a reflection of the cost of doing business reduction, is not happening. So he's urging the businesses that yes, you have enjoyed some windfall as a result of the achievement or the performance of the cedi, and also the inflationary rates. You are still keeping the prices high, depriving the household of low cost of living, which is quite significant. And I would want to say that, clearly, if you look at some of the things he said, we've had some effects with the exchange rate performance and also with the inflationary rate coming down. Prices of goods and services, some of certain commodities have really gone down. The price of rice, cooking oil, and I have a list here, but I'm not here to read the list. But obviously, if you're a Ghanaian and January you went to the market to buy cement, for example, and you go today, you see that there's a difference. If you went to buy a bag of rice and you go today, you see that there's a difference. So, yes, some businesses have responded. Others are yet to respond. But you see, some of these things, when they do happen, the excuse is that some of the stock we have is an old stock. And therefore, give us some time so that when you go for new stock, then we can price to reflect the reality of the time. But as you rightly said, certainly, if you are managing an economy, the heartbeat of the economy has always been the forex, the foreign exchange, because it has effect on all other pillars of the economy. And therefore, by bringing it down the way it's been brought down, we expect businesses to do better. We expect households to also have some, if you like, some improved standard of living out of a reduced cost of living. So, yes, I have described this budget a show working budget. I think yesterday the minister showed working. He tried as much as possible to make the budget self-explanatory, the way he presented it. And so for me, it's a budget that it breathes a kind of confidence into the system. And I believe businesses can continue to take advantage of the macroeconomic environment that is doing well. My only concern now is how to also bring down the interest rates. That is my concern now, because so far we've used the demand side approach, tight fiscal policy, tight monetary policy, which is very significant policies to control excess money supply in the system and its effect on inflation and exchange rate and all that. We've done that. One has been that has been done perfectly. They've kept the script perfectly in doing that. Moving beyond the short term, how do we transition to the supply side of it to make sure that we invest in other sectors, like mainly the productive sector of the economy, to be able to expand the economy, to employ people and all that. That is where the 24-hour economy comes in. So, yes, if this is my comment, my initial comment on this, I think so far so good with the economy. You see, I've always said that we don't create an economy, we build an economy. And that is exactly what is being done. That is why when MPP started saying that, oh, the government is not spending, it's like they were accusing the government, they were opposing government policies. I said they didn't know what they were talking about, because we are not creating an economy, we are building an economy. And so you have to take your time and get the base right if the foundation is right, you know, remember this economic mism that became so popular in Ghana. If the fundamentals are weak, the foreign exchange will expose you.
Who said
the former vice president. Yeah. In fact, I've said it. I was telling somebody yesterday that if the former vice president had not been given the opportunity to manage this economy as a head of AMT, the MPP would have fooled the whole country that he was a genius. In fact, they would have fooled all of us into believing that he was a genius. But from what has been done so far, you could see this could have been done, because if you look at the factors, the difference is those who are managing the economy. Because if you listen to, I've listened to the MPP people, I've listened to Gideon Baku, what he said about the economy. I've listened to Kojo Oponkroma. I've listened to all of them. And it seems all the things they were saying were contrary to what the finance minister was doing. And what the finance minister is doing is what has given us these results. Which means, even if they were to be in power, they would have gotten it wrong this time around.
I mean, but is it not too early for us to get overly excited? Well, the numbers and everything look good. There's no debate. I've seen the IMF review just this month. Everything is on point. They say that we're heading in the right direction. But if the fact remains that expenditure-wise, and I saw the minister itemize some of the things they've spent so far to respond to it. But if you still look at, you narrow in on central government operations. So one of the expenditure line items that we all know carries a lot is capital expenditure. I mean, for the first half, they were looking at doing 18 million. They've done just about 7 billion actually, 18 billion. They've done just about 7 billion so far. So that tells you that in terms of capital expenditure, there's a bit of being cautious over there. We have lots of arrears, billions of arrears that the minister said. Some had been validated, some had also not been validated. So that should tell us that we will get to a point where we may see the true state of the economy, and that we should be a bit cautious now. Don't you agree?
Yeah, you see, but it's not what I'm saying, that the economy is built, it's not created. So when a team is building an economy with the performance shown so far, I'm basing my if you like, even my prediction on what is happening now. Because you see, they've been able to hold the factors that could easily trigger, if you like, the economy into a very negative direction. The foreign exchange bit, the inflation bit, very important. These two are, if you like, they can be very economically, they can be demonic if you don't control them well. And that has been done, okay? And with respect to the fiscal consolidation, their focus is on expenditure. It's not just about increasing revenue. And so by controlling expenditure the way they've done, now they can have the space to now begin to expand. Because if you don't control the expenditure to stabilize the situation, I describe it peace be still situation. Whenever you're comfortable with the chaotic situation, the first thing you do is peace be still. Like the Lord Jesus Christ will say, peace be still, before he begins to do any other thing. So that is what has been done. And for me, it's a good sign that the economy is being managed and not being run.
Okay.
Are you getting it? So yes, let's wait and see the expenditure bit that will come up. But I would want this government to focus on spending in areas of agriculture and manufacturing moving forward, because we can't continue to use this approach beyond next year. Next year, we'd have to come to the supply side of the economy and see what we can do to increase production and increase supply, and also reduce the cost of production, the cost of distribution. These are two critical areas we need to look at, because if the Ghanaian consumer would have to choose between Ghanaian product and a Chinese product, then it will be a matter of pricing. Which one is relatively cheap? Which one is, in terms of quality, which one is better? Because I've said that a Ghanaian will not buy out of patriotism, will buy out of rationality.
Okay.
And so if what is being imported from China is relatively cheaper than what is being produced in Ghana because of high cost of production, he will still buy from China.
Okay.
Which means we'll find it difficult to reduce imports and, if you like, increase exports.
Let me come to Adam now. And Adam, the same question I asked Ebo about whether it's too early for us to celebrate. I mean, I'm asking because we recall in 2017, I remember the first 100 days, there was a major news conference. People wanted to even carry the IGP because they said he had locked up the CD and he had the key. I mean, but eventually we saw what became of the currency. I mean, we basically had to go to the IMF cap in hand. And the same question again on the fact that if you read the IMF review, the IMF says that government has indicated that they don't lean towards revenue handles coming in. They want to do more of the expenditure cuts. But the list of projects that the minister has announced, one cannot help but ask that we may have the deficit issues being bigger than he's projecting.
Well, yesterday, the finance minister presented a review that, for me, was very, very honest in its assessment. It inspired hope, and it's also revealed how the managers of the economy have employed the simple strategy of prudent management of the economy to produce the kind of results that we have today. One may argue that it is too early to celebrate. Yes, we are not out of the woods yet, and the minister was very firm on that. He mentioned that we are still on the path of recovery, and so it is no time to really celebrate. It is no time to go organize any kinky party to celebrate what gains we are recording. But the gains gives us a signal that in the next 4 years and beyond, we will see an economy that is strong, an economy that is able to support growth that manifests in the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian. The numbers speak clearly. Take, for example, inflation. Inflation peaked at crisis levels in 2023, but today, for 6 months, it has been on a downward trend, and we are in a lower double-digit figures. So that shows clearly that the average Ghanaian is confronted with an economy where you will not go to the market today, buy an item, tomorrow when you are going, the price has doubled. We saw that under the NPP. There was a time you could virtually go to the market in the morning, buy an item for 100 cedis, return by afternoon, and the price has increased. Yeah. So we are coming out of the woods. And the mere fact that we have been able to sustain this over the 6 month period, and signs are that it will keep going down further, signals the strong management and the fiscal discipline of the government. Take debt to GDP ratio, because these are the indicators. Because when you want to analyze the health of any economy, these are the indicators: inflation, debt to GDP ratio, the exchange rate, unemployment figures, and what have you. Every indicator today points to the fact that the economy is far better than what we inherited. So debt to GDP ratio at the end of 2024 was around 63%. But today, debt to GDP ratio is about 43%. The debt stock, in terms of nominal figures, reduced by 113.7 billion, 113.7 billion. And this is the first time in Ghana's history that we are recording a negative 15% accumulation of our debt. Historic. And so, yes, we are not celebrating, we are modest as we have always been, but these things signals strong growth and progress in our economy.
Joseph, the MPP have made some arguments that the exchange rate is largely because government is not spending. And they claim that it is artificial and could not be sustained. We have never told the people of Ghana that we have arrested the dollar and given the key to the IGP. And so we are not demanding the keys from IGP Yohunu. But Ato Forsen, but Dr. Esiama, but Sami Jemfi, and other key players in our financial sector today are working together in a well-coordinated manner to produce the stability of the city that we are seeing today. Today, we all see what is happening with our currency. If it were artificial, why is it that other currencies within the West African sub-region, why is it that other currencies within Africa are not recording the same gains against other major currencies, but it is the Ghanaian cedi that is recording those? It is the issue of management and leadership, and that is clearly what we are showing. Today, exchange rate is far better, and if Dr. Baumier's analogy that when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, is anything to go by, then today we can say that the fundamentals are so strong that the exchange rate is portraying President Mahama and Dr. Ato Forsen as the best managers of the economy, maybe in this Fourth Republic, because clearly we have seen the numbers that we are recording. So exchange rate stability, you can see the stability of our currency. Today, there's no speculative pressure on our currency. They have tried. They tried claiming that when you go to Bank of Ghana, it is only on paper that it is 10.3 or 10.4, but it's actually 13 in the market. There have been a few strategic measures put in place, mechanisms. For example, when you go to Bank of Ghana and you want to take dollars or you want to transfer dollars in a certain volume, they are only asking you to provide. And you are the tax expert. Bank of Ghana is only requiring you to provide documentation that I am going to use the money to fund A, B, C, and D projects. Because in the name of this economic liberalization, people have also used the financial market to engage in all sorts of activities, including money laundering. So today they are asking that just provide evidence and you will get the dollars. Indeed, the banks, as we speak, last week, for example, Bank of Ghana made available over 60 billion to the market, but the banks could not even use all. They couldn't take all. They have to return some. So at the end of the day, the prudent management of the economy is what has led to the stability of the currency, our cedi, as we speak today. Joseph, the issue of spending. Yeah. Before you come in.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, it's the spending that I'm taking to actually. I mean, you agree with the point I make that the next couple of months is when your major ticket items will take off. I mean, including the Mahama Trust, the infrastructure growth, the 24-hour economy taking off properly.
From 7th January 2025 till today, government have been spending.
Yes, I mean, we
government has been spending.
There's no doubt about that. But you would agree
the propaganda around the spending is because, yes, I'll go into the major items. The propaganda around the spending is because the NPP and their allies have been so accustomed to reckless spending that fiscal discipline, responsible spending, looks like no spending to them. Clearly look at the items that we have spent on. Capitation grants. For several years, players within the education sector had to beg for arrears in capitation grant to be paid. As we speak today, all arrears from 2023 to date in capitation grants has been cleared. Free SHS, their flagship policy, that was the solution, the medicine for every problem. Even when you are not well and you are seeking bed in the hospital, they say we are doing free SHS. Today, that policy that they took so much credit for, made so much noise about, they left it in distress. At the time the NPP was leaving office, students in our senior high schools could not get food to eat. Recall the crisis across. In some institutions, parents were being asked to contribute to buy food to feed our brothers and sisters, our children in senior high schools. But today, government has spent about 1 billion Ghana cedis on free SHS. That is why you don't hear the noise or any challenge around the implementation of the free SHS policy. And across, we keep spending and we have been spending. The only difference between us and them is that we are spending responsibly. The fiscal discipline is what appears to them as no spending. Major items will come like roads. Yeah, but again, don't forget that those major expenditure.
Yeah, I mean the point of the revenue, because that is something that you have to contend with. And even if you look at the total revenues for the first half so far, 99 billion. If you look at your total expenditure, 109 billion. So even from the start, we know that there's a bit of a deficit there. We spent more than we've been able to collect so far. And it comes back to the point that we are now going to embark on major spending. Again, if you compare capital expenditure, we projected to do 18 billion. We did just 7 billion for the first half so far. So that tells you that already we've spent beyond what we've been able to collect. Don't we have to get to the point that we all have to agree that we need to either have more taxes potentially, or we have to do away with some of our expenditure? And I have heard people make the point about the teacher trainee and the nursing trainee allowances.
No, I mean for now,
whether those are
for now teacher trainee allowance and nursing trainee allowance,
because we need
cancellation is not on the table for discussion. Those items will remain part of our budget and government will continue to fund them. We have not complained about government's inability to fund those items. We can have a discussion. We can have a discussion. But I'm getting into the numbers. I'm getting into the numbers of expenditure.
Right. Yeah.
Now, Joseph, it's clear. I mean, it's important for us to understand that when it comes to government spending, you also must look at the priority areas of government and whether government is spending on productive sectors.
Okay.
So if government tells you that I am putting investment or I'm investing so much money into roads, this may be heavy budget line items, but in effect, these are productive investments or expenditure, because an improved road network will also mean that a growing economy. And so look at the areas. And also, you also need to understand, Joseph, that government is not only relying on taxes to fund development. Government is not only relying on taxes to fund development. When you look at even this particular budget and some of the programs and the policies as announced by the finance minister, he has been able to announce that clearly how we intend to make some savings from some of our current expenditure lines. For example, we are making so much savings from the payroll audit. If you were paying over 14,000 people as ghosts and over 53,000 people as separated staff, monies collected, money saved from this audit will be used to fund development. Again, government has reduced substantially its expenditure on the executive. The number of ministries that have been scrapped, we have reduced the number of ministers to 60, ministers and deputy ministers to 60. Government today has taken the perks, some of the perks, like the fuel allowance for appointees, which we are told will save this country about 180 million annually, and many other expenditures of this nature. Now, when you make such savings, you reinvest it into the productive sectors of the economy. And it is not by chance, it's not coincidence at all that the IMF and all the credit rating agencies are giving Ghana positive highlights.
Okay.
It is because they can see how prudent the managers of the economy are building the kind of economy that we desire to see.
Okay. Let me come to Mr. Jantua now. Would you want us to start off at energy?
Start off from anywhere.
Okay, so I mean, in March,
let's look at the economy a bit.
Okay, all right.
There are certain pillars of the economy that are germane to the finance minister being able to go forward.
Okay.
I listed them. 1, interest rates. 2, spending of government. 3, cost of production. 4, foreign exchange, CD acceleration or depreciation. 5, inflation. And then you look at revenue coming in, what we can do to get revenue in. And that is where you've got to look at exports and the quality of your exports in terms of added value. Now, when I look at exports, I'm not talking about the normal private sector companies' exports. I'm talking about added value for exports. So, what are the commodities? Cocoa, oil and gas, cooking oil, gold, rice, sugar, poultry. If we are able to add value to these particular items, the return of revenue coming in would be huge. Let me give you an example. We export cocoa beans raw. If we add value to the cocoa beans and turn it into liquor, the quantum of money that that kind of product attracts outside to our buyers is higher than exporting cocoa beans. When we look at oil and gas, if we are able to add value to a certain percentage of GMPC's share of the oil and get TOR working, where TOR now does what? Turns the oil into refined petroleum products, which is diesel and petrol. What does it do? It stops capital flight of having to bring refined petroleum products in. And there's an additional advantage there. And what is that additional advantage? We are able to be self-sufficient in producing refined petroleum products for our vehicles here. But equally, we are able to export refined petroleum products into the sub-region, which brings in foreign exchange. And so TOR itself would get some percentage of that foreign exchange to keep it running. Now, let's look at gold. We export whole. If we add value, we get more money. So if I had my own way, and what did the finance minister say where gold is concerned? He indicated that, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in Ghana's history, gold exports from the small-scale mining sector have exceeded gold exports from the large-scale sector. Don't you think if we had added value to this gold, we would make more money?
Yeah.
So it is a handle we need to look at how we add value to it. Rice, that is the agricultural side. And you know we do basmati rice in this country. But because of exports coming in, and because the exports coming in are cheaper than the cost of production here for rice, we are not able to compete. But we should be able to compete to make sure that we can also export rice. Sugar, key. And sugar is key not only for consumption, but key in the pharmaceutical sector. If we can produce sugar at a certain price in terms of cost of production, we help our pharmaceutical industry, and what? We help consumption in the country. Poultry is key. How many dead chickens come into this country in containers? Massive containers. It should be a place where we look at, because that kind of revenue that comes in and that kind of export that goes out would help us solidify things. So those pillars, and for now, the finance minister has been able to look at the foreign exchange. The CD is good.
Yeah.
Foreign exchange is good. Interest rates for businesses. I'm chairman of the energy sector, AGI. and we look at interest rates of the banks, and they are still high. And it kills whatever he's trying to do to bring the cedi down. We need to look at that bit. And then you look at government spending. So you would say, we are in IMF.
Yeah.
Government can't spend the way it's supposed to spend. The challenge is when we come out of IMF. How would the spending trajectory go? Because we've seen, any time we've been in IMF, that spending trajectory has gone up once we are out. Would we be able to sustain it? Would we be able to tell the people, look guys, we plan to do X, we plan to do Y. However, looking at the revenue we have, we won't be able to probably do X or Y. So we shelve it to probably in 2 years or in a year's time. Would they be able to do that? And they should be able to do that. Because what does that do? It brings transparency, it brings responsibility, and it helps the people also to understand. All these things we talk about, if you don't bring the people on board, you don't give the people the basics of why certain things are being done, then that's where the conconsa starts. But you've got to be clear. And for me, that is one thing I like about yesterday what the finance minister read. You could see it was clear. You could see those areas where we did not understand. Later on, he explained, I mean, on some TV shows, he was there. He explained some of the nitty-gritties. And so, I believe those pillars of the economy should be something we should look at. And let's face it, they say they call you Joseph, but I call you Blake.
He doesn't like you.
They've been in power for only 5 months. Only 5 months. The one person I heard, especially on the MPP side, I heard say something positive yesterday in Parliament, or Sticker. I'm not sure whether you heard what he said.
No, I didn't. Dr. Stephen Amon.
Yes, he said they've been in power for only 5 months. Apart from that, they still even haven't finished putting their boards in place. Even some ministers, they are still vetting ministers. So let's give them time.
Okay.
Let's give them time. And I believe when you have a child, you have a child and the child is growing and you study the child, you'll be able to tell whether this child is brainy or not. And that is where we are. When you look at how the finance minister has started and you juxtapose it, you transport it into the future, you can see there is some solid foundation being built.
Okay.
Whether that foundation will be able to be sustained is the $1 million question. But I see the determination in President Mahama's want to make things right. You can see that determination, and you can see the channel he's trying to forge in making things right. And I hope going down the road in the next 2 to 3 years, the economy will stabilize in such a way that Ghanaians will start feeling comfortable. Because we've tightened our belt for so long that right now our waist is now too tight. We can't even walk.
I want to take you to energy briefly, but because you touched on the issue of discipline, I mean, we all agree that that's the major challenge. And even under an IMF program, we're indisciplined last year. I mean, this is what the fund says. It says, notwithstanding higher than expected growth and significant further improvements in Ghana's external position last year, program performance deteriorated markedly at the end of 2024. This reflected pre-election fiscal slippages, inflation above program targets, though recent data points to renewed rapid disinflation and reform delays. So even under the program, we're doing okay. Then election is approaching and we see what happens. It comes down to the point that no matter what is being done now, it will all have to come down to what happens. And a lot of the time, the indiscipline, many will tell you, is fueled by the political considerations. And I was asking him earlier, why do we need the nursing training allowances still? Why do we need the teacher training allowances still? Those are, some of them have been upgraded into the status of degree universities. And people are asking that the political will has to be taken at some point.
The political will is so important not to be able to bring party in the mix. In the mix. You see, the moment you bring party in and you attach party to elections, then it creates a challenge of what? Overspending. It creates a challenge of trying to satisfy everybody. I don't think it should be so. We should be able to be forthright and say to ourselves, party or no party, country first. And the way we are going, if it is not good for us, let's try and deviate and do the right thing. Now, you asked about the energy sector.
Yes.
And you ask about revenue. And for me, revenue is key. What did the finance minister talk about? The big push and how they're going to finance some of these roads. Now, I remember when we discovered oil, and I've said it on this platform before, some of us said to President Kufuor, let's not use the oil revenue for everything. Let's use the oil revenue for specific projects. So if we needed to build hospitals in every region, top-class hospitals in every region, let's do that. If we needed to build roads, especially the trunk roads that connect the country, let's do that. If we needed to build railway, let's use it to do that. Unfortunately, it didn't fall on good ears. And we did what? We brought in the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, and we decided to have 4 priority areas. And even with those 4 priority areas, with the 13 in the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, you realize that we had thinned the spending of the revenue. I think what the finance minister is trying to do, he's now trying to come back to a situation where the oil revenue is used for specific projects. Then you ask the question, will the oil revenue be enough? What are we doing in terms of augmenting the oil revenue we have now and future oil revenues? Let me tell you some of the things we are trying to do at GMPC. We have discovered something called marginal fields. And these are oil and gas fields which may not be commercially feasible. However, if we are able to cluster them together, and we have realized there are about 1 billion barrels in these fields all around, and they have about 2.5 TCF of gas in there. We are not even concentrating on the eastern side. We are concentrating on the western side that is already prolific. And we have started looking at how do we cluster these, get investment in to drill out some of this oil. Now, if we are able to do that, and if we are able to get the gas out also, it brings extra revenue. And the good thing about oil is that the revenue comes in like a tsunami. Oil revenue, when it comes in boom, like not like any other revenue. So that revenue that comes in can be used to do some of these things. And we are working very, very hard to make sure that the Voltaire Basin, which is onshore oil, is something that would also add value to it. And where the Voltaire Basin is concerned, you don't need an FPSO. What you need are pump jacks, tanks, and pipelines. I am urging Ghanaians, and we are going to be as transparent as possible. I am urging Ghanaians, at this particular moment, please build capacity within yourselves, especially onshore. Ghanaians, take that opportunity when it comes up. The potential we have seen onshore, the kind of oil seepages we have seen onshore, it makes it very, very interesting. However, we need to be able to sort Galamsey. It would be a huge challenge for us, especially when you look at the trajectory of where we are finding the oil onshore. If we are not careful, Galamsey could be a huge hindrance to us. So that is why, and I'll end on this, and if you have any questions on energy, I'll answer. That is why I feel that the MPP should not have looked at Galamsey as a challenge because it is a national issue that needs to be discussed together as a national caucus, not as an individual party thing, because it affects everything. It affects water bodies, it affects the food, it affects natural resources, it affects everything. And it is something we need to look at. If the work that we're doing at GMPC is to be sustained and Ghanaians are going to benefit from it. But I will continuously say, Ghanaians, go out there, build capacity within yourself where the oil industry is concerned. And when onshore opens, 2030, when it opens, be the first ones there. Because what we're trying to look at is for GMPC to be the main IOC there. Okay. And Ghanaian companies would work with the GMPC to also do what? Extract oil. Because when you go to Nigeria, the kind of millionaires that are just doing marginal field extraction has given money to them. Unfortunately, the money isn't used to the benefit of the people. But we should insist that anybody who decides to go into oil production onshore, they should make sure that the money comes back into our banks and those monies can help the economy run properly.
Okay. I'll come back to you on the issue relative to ECG and the others. Let me come to Mr. Fiajo now. And I see you have the appendix there. I want you to take a look at page 82. Page 82. The issue of tax refunds. We know that last year when the minister was talking about some of the creative ways he wants to make up for the shortfall with the cuts in expenditure, he made reference to the fact that the tax refunds have over the period been abused. And so if you look closely at the figures that we have, the projections, they were projecting to do 3 billion. They've even gone beyond the 3 billion. They are doing 5 billion. Yeah. That is a problem. I mean, if that we have to take that as a creative way of wanting to raise funds and you have a projection, and even at this point in the year, you've even gone beyond that projection on its own.
No, so this is actually a sensitive matter. Okay. Because why I said, right, tax refunds are actually an indication of how healthy your economy is. Refunds are not, they are not gifts, right? They're actually due to some people. And for me as a practitioner, I've been in situations where... Because you are the one asking for the refunds for people. Yeah, they're delayed, but it's just because you can see sometimes that perhaps the Revenue Authority, in this case, is trying to manage their budget. About a year ago, when we had a tax conference and we met, right, we had a professor speak to us at some point, and she said that when you see an economy and there's willingness to actually give money back that has been overpaid by way of taxes, it shows the health of the economy. It's important. I do not know how he didn't predict this, let me put it that way. But could it be then that there were a backlog of refunds? Because in 6 months, he's done 5 million already. Yeah. And he budgeted a total of 7 million. And he has not changed the budget. So if we continue on this trajectory, indeed, he's probably going to pay more. But I take the position that this, obviously, from a planning perspective, comes as a surprise. But from, I suppose, if it's true to his word that perhaps the refunds that have been given here have been looked at, maybe there's still a work in progress to actually say there isn't an abuse in the system, then this 5 million is something definitely that he has to look at to say, look, do I need to estimate a higher amount? Here are other things also that may affect the refund. Okay. If you take a look at the 24-hour economy policy and all of that, there is also laden with some quiet incentives, right? And incentives, when they are given, they are not always necessarily upfront. They sometimes it becomes a pay and claim process. So if we are activating 24-hour now, perhaps we should start thinking carefully about this number as well. There are other things, maybe that will go into the next year. If you think about VAT and even some of those levies that are now going to be brought back into the fold and all of that. VAT, and at least because I am with the tax fraternity, I've come across a good number of the conversations they're having about the reform. Right?
Because you make use of it, what is the challenge exactly? Because I mean, we've heard government say that they want to have a new law. What is the problem with it as we have it currently?
Oh, the VAT.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll try very much not to be technical about this. So we left sales tax first in 95 and then in 98. Let me put it that way. We left sales tax and said we're doing VAT. The point about VAT was that we're sending the tax to the last consumer, and anybody within the chain only paid on the additional value. That was the intention. That meant that businesses will breathe. They don't just pick up cost along the way. That's what sales tax did. So we used VAT for a good number of years. And what really happened, the challenge was that we came back and decided to line up sales tax into the VAT. And we did that. It doesn't immediately look obvious, but when you pull out Get Fund, when you pull out NHIL, when you pull them out, that means that every step of the way, it leaves a cost. Every step of the way, it leaves a cost. Now, here's the thing. From a revenue perspective, you are likely to make more money because there isn't a refund process, a natural refund process. But from a business perspective, you're actually putting cost on various balance sheets. You are increasing the cost of business. If you want to extend that, what it does is that it doesn't encourage some things. It doesn't encourage teaming. So for instance, if two people get together and they are sort of supporting each other and helping each other and doing things, and one person has to bill and pass it to the other, you are leaving a cost between them. And if you look at a lot of the things we've said as an economy and maybe as a country, we've always said that we try to do the small stuff a bit too much. Like I have my small business, sometimes you need scale. You need scale. And today, I mean, the way businesses work, scale means people need to get together and do things. So sometimes you're competing, but sometimes you come together and collaborate.
But this is a trust issue.
It is also a cultural issue, yes, actually. It's also a cultural issue.
Cultural and trust issue.
But if you leave a cost, for that matter, a financial cost, that makes it even worse.
Yes.
Like, that makes it even difficult for me to team. Yes. In other forms, there are other things you can think about. So you'll find that people having maybe, for instance, holdco structures, so that holding company, and let me say that clearly, so that they can actually build skill and expertise and support a good number of companies. All of that will leave cost as well. So from a revenue perspective, it looked okay. But from a policy perspective, it looked clearly like we have distorted the VAT. In fact, we had distorted the VAT. We have put sales tax back.
Okay.
Now, I was of the school of thought that the minister should have just done it right from the beginning. In March, you should have just said, okay, we are presenting a bill. But he chose the course of, let me go have a conversation. Depending on where you sit, there are two views to this. While he's having the conversation, he's making revenue still.
Yes.
Yeah. We can take that
At least from now until October.
No, actually, it might even be January.
Yeah, okay, yes, because once the budget is done,
he says he's going to put in the budget and then appropriate. So he's making money.
Yeah.
But if I'm not speaking for him necessarily, but if you think about it, if he takes that away, how is he going to block that revenue hole? But you can't say that perfectly because you need to think about it. If he takes the non-cascading effect, let me put it that way, if that cascading effect that is leaving, if he changes that, what is going to happen to him? It doesn't necessarily mean that revenue will drop. It could also mean that businesses will be freer now and will have capacity to do more. But here's the catch. You do not necessarily know whether businesses will be able to do it or not. So he will be careful. So he is being careful. But with what I have seen in the tax circles, the discussions around VAT, and with the announcements that he has made, I realized that there may be some value in the discussions he went around to do. Because the minister did not only talk about rate. So I noted some of these things. He spoke about rate, and when I group rate, he spoke about COVID, go away, Get Fund, NHIL, brought back into the fold. Then he said something, I thought he chose his words carefully. The effective rate will drop. He didn't say the rate will drop. He says the effective rate will drop. I'm sure in...
Explain the effective rate so that people understand.
Yeah, so incidentally, depending on which party or who is talking to you, they'll say, oh, we've reduced VAT. Oh, VAT is just 17.5 because VAT in its name is 17.5. Then we will say there's NHIL and there's Get Fund. But when you bring it all together and you look at the cascading effect, VAT should be sitting about 21, a little 21 plus.
Okay.
So, yeah, if the minister says compounding, yeah. But even that, if you hop 2 times, then the cost is going to increase, right?
So what's the effective rate in all that you've said?
No, so the effective rate in this case is 21.
Even though they will tell you 17.5.
Yeah.
17.5.
Now, if the minister says it will drop,
so it means that
it could be 20.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it means that the final impact may be lesser than it is now.
Exactly.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that the value would go down.
And I thought he chose that very carefully.
Okay.
Now then he said, I'm dealing with all flat rate. Flat rate is also one area where we wake up one day and we say, okay, it's looking too complicated. I am taking this person out and I'm charging a flat rate. One of the things we see very clearly is that when you say flat rate, it doesn't just mean you put 3% or 5%, right? It actually means for that particular business, any VAT cost that business has incurred is stuck with the business. He doesn't have a right to claim or anything. And what they do is just naturally build it into the price and give it to the consumer. But again, from the dialogue, what I realized that the minister said, which wasn't initially a part of the concerns that were raised, was that the threshold will increase. That is very significant. We look at our VAT threshold, that is who has to charge VAT. When you move the threshold up, you leave a lot of businesses out. That means they are stuck with their cost. It's not entirely a bad thing. Sometimes those who are adding value, those who are doing scale, it makes sense to actually give them that relief so that they can go on even further. It makes sense not to burden the very small ones with the fact of complying. It also makes sense equally because you might be forced at a later time to say, oh, I want to give you a flat rate so that it's not too complicated. The one who can do the scale should be able to do it. So we've always been advocating that VAT thresholds should be looked at every time, rather than try to say, okay, flat rates for this sector, the other sector, or not. So once VAT kicks off very well, this matter about refund will become a topic one, and he should, as he has started, look out for the abuse. What I worry about is you will find the budget that says, let's be careful about what we give back. We need to make sure that it's okay. But you find on the other side, for instance, if you take the 24-hour document, it says that let's automate how we give incentives. It may be a bit conflicting, right? But I dare say, let's not, so while budget is saying careful, this one says simplify it and let it be quick. They need to meet. And I think that point is Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Let me ask, so of all the things you've said, what is its impact on the private sector? That is what we need to find out. What is the impact on the private sector?
So two things here. What is going to happen with the private sector is that they're not going to be stuck with a lot of costs. That means they have to push down lower prices. And that's one of the things the minister is asking for. Because clearly, I put out all these policies, inflation has come down and all of that. I need prices to go down. If I do the VAT reform as well, you have some relief. Don't just absorb it, right? It means the final consumer will be better off for it.
But he hasn't looked at interest rates that can push the price up.
So one level at a time, if you ask me, one level at a time.
Interest rate is coming down. It may not be as...
It's 38. No. So when it's coming down to what?
And I'm saying that, where was it before he took over?
No, let's talk about now.
No, we can make an argument that interest rate at 38 is high. We all agree on that, very high.
But I'm saying that it is coming down. And that is why the continuous decline in the treasury bill rates is good for the economy. Because that...
But not good for the individual.
No, you see, so that is it. So again, the person who is also giving the loan, the person who is also giving out the loan may be happy with the 38% that you are also complaining about. So it is coming down. So it's both ways.
Yeah.
Somebody must win. There must be a win-win situation.
Yeah, it has to.
The good thing is that, and again on the prices, I want to appeal to our traders that every sign, every indicator signals that prices must come down. And indeed, prices are coming down. I have a tall list of items here that the prices have fallen down sharply. Many items. You can talk about rice, oil.
Okay, I think Ebu
also made reference to some of them.
Yeah.
But there are still some items that
need to go down.
that needs to go down. For example, even cement can go down further.
Yeah.
And this week I heard the trade minister make an appeal to...
I heard the road minister
the road minister also said that
he wants it to go down.
He wants it to go down further to about 95. And it is possible. But some of these things, we can achieve it by engagement. Because the economy is good. Let everybody feel it in their pocket. But again, when we talk about filling the economy in our pockets, let's also understand that when we talk about inflation, the fact that today prices are coming down, and the fact that, Joseph, if you receive, say, 1,000 Ghana cedis a month as your salary, and you were buying year's sanitary pad for 25 Ghana cedis for your sister, today that you are buying it 15 cedis, technically, you have made or you are making savings. Your purchasing power has increased.
That's fine.
And it is increasing across board.
Okay, that's
so we need to celebrate some of these things.
Just a quick one. We are wrapping up.
I
understand what you say.
Yeah.
However, for the ordinary man, the moment kinky prices drop, for him, he's fine.
Inflation coming down. So inflation coming down does not mean that we will see a reduction in the price of kinky.
Mr.
Chadro is telling you that sometimes they drop the price and drop down the size.
Yes.
But this time around, increase. Yeah, but we want to make a point. Let's make it for me quickly.
Yes, one issue that came up for me that was very good news for all of us was the recapitalization of NIB.
Yes, very good. Yes.
I mean, it was something. I was so excited when I heard about it because I mean, the key players in the sector.
I mean, he actually mentioned it in the main budget that they were going to do it.
Yeah. And I think and it's just something very striking that they are not spending to collapse banks, but they are spending to resuscitate banks, which was quite interesting because I mean, at a point in time, I don't know whether you heard that John 1010 Mafia wanted to buy the NIB, and so they ran it down.
I'll give you a minute to where you are going.
So they
ran a minute.
So they ran it down intentionally so that they could buy it. But this government has taken the step to resuscitate it, which is for me. This is a Ghanaian bank, a national bank for that matter, and so it is good. It is good for us as a nation. Are you saying I can't make any other point again?
I'll give you the final word. 10 seconds.
I think for me, one of the things that I've been talking about forever is the dollarization of the economy.
Yeah.
For what the finance minister has said in terms of CD being the only currency for projects, I think is fantastic. It will have a cascading effect as we move along.
Okay. You are the only one with a constituent who votes for you. So, final message to Kitchen.
Let me use the opportunity to thank President Mahama, the finance minister, and the roads minister. A number of roads in my constituency featured prominently in the budget. And I'm very happy about that.
All right.
I want to let the finance minister know that he should continue like that, and he should come. We'll crown him a chief of development in Katuno, because I mean these are roads that have been abandoned for several years, and today
the finance minister and the rules minister listened to our plea, and some of those rules featured prominently. Let's continue this way. I believe that in 4 years, Ketu North, Ghana, the Volta region, we will be better than what we have now.
Let's try and stick to
and let's not wish this government
evil or bad.
Like someone.
Well, government that
as someone said.
Before we have opposition.
Okay. That is
the NDC will be taken over by the new party that is coming.
Which is
movement.
We are coming as a political party.
A new movement.
Yeah. So
that is a senior communicator with the movement for change. He's also an economic and financial analyst. Erika Demagbana is the MP for Ketu North. Kwame Jantwa is a legal practitioner, a member of the Convincing People's Party. One message here says what Mr. Jantwa should be employed as the co-host on Fridays. Yes. That's a message on the timeline here. Yes, my uncle always by me.
I want to greet a friend's wife to be.
Okay.
Today's
Esther Dako. Simply Gigi. Phil says hi.
Okay.
Your soon-to-be husband.
Okay. Happy birthday to us.
And Julius Anthony.
Okay. Julius Anthony. I know him. Congrats to him.
First class.
Yes, first class.
Yes.
I got a first class as well.
All my friends. All my friends are sharp.
Mr. Fiajo joined us. Mr. Fiajo is a partner at tax services at PwC. Joined us this morning as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. The show will continue, but I have a bit of Legon Hall. Queen Mutu Datu, to whom much is given.
President Akufo.
Professor Mills' Hall as well. Professor Mills' Hall. If you thought I didn't do Professor Mills' Hall, Statutory Carters Hall as well. Okay, so if you want to look smart, if you want to look smart and fashionable, visit any Woodin boutique nationwide today. Woodin offers an amazing collection of authentic African fabrics ready to wear that come in beautiful designs and colors for men and women. With Woodin, you can get creative and versatile with your designs. Be confident and show off how truly African you are in Woodin. Go to a Woodin boutique near you today and choose from a variety of trendy products to complement your unique style. Follow Woodin Fashion on Facebook, Instagram at Woodin Fashion, and TikTok at Woodin_fashion. Woodin is very important for you, so you have to get that as well. And so that is it by way of some good news for you and some products that you can also get as well. That is it for Big Issue. The morning show continues, New Day continues. Stay tuned in.